Hello, my name is Bibi, and in this video, I'm teaching myself how to sew. I got a sewing machine on my wedding registry. Here it is. Isn't she beautiful? I love her. I'm so excited to learn how to sew. I've been watching people sew on YouTube for what feels like forever and wishing I could be one of them for what feels like forever. And so this video is to kind of catalog the chaos that it has been to teach myself how to sew, plus me turning my kitchen window from this into this, which is really exciting. I made curtains, basically. I went to Goodwill and I bought a bed sheet and I turned it into curtains. If you're looking for an actual tutorial on how to thread your machine or actually make curtains, I will link some things in the description that will be way more helpful than this chaotic journey. But I really just wanted to have a place where I could look back and see my sewing progress and also encourage myself to make new things and try new things. Before we get into all of the chaotic footage that I have, I am going to really quickly show you everything that came with my lovely machine, all the extra materials I bought, and then give you a rundown of how I actually did the curtains and the different plans I went through. Because throughout the video I changed my mind a few times, and if you don't have kind of a big picture overview, that could be really confusing. So yeah, let's get into it. So here's everything that my machine came with. 2 threads. This was white, but I used all of it, and these go on the top of your machine. These are the top threads. 1 little guy to thread the machine with. This is a magical utensil, okay? Magic. 2 bobbins. One of them is currently in the machine, and this used to be white, but again, I used all of it. I do not know what this little metal piece does. 2 machine needles. I'm assuming these are machine needle replacements. This, which again, I have no idea what this is. So those are all the things that came inside of my machine in a nice little case. Also, as an aside, I totally forgot to mention this, which I found later, but I don't know what this is, but it also came with my machine. Now I'm going to show you everything I would recommend buying, which honestly, this is like bare minimum what I would recommend. Things that I definitely needed while I was making these curtains. So first and foremost, pens. I got these off of Amazon. So these are my pens. I also have a cute little cushion that I got off of Amazon, which I would highly recommend, but you know, you technically don't need these. You can just put it back in the box. An iron. You're going to iron your fabric, press your seams. This, honestly, I used so much, and I don't understand why you have to iron everything, but I do know that if you don't, it's a big no. So definitely have an iron. With that, you need an ironing board. I bought this off of Amazon since I am in a tiny apartment, as you can see from the filming angles being the exact same room, but just different angles. So this you can iron anywhere. I've just been putting it on my table and ironing on top of that. So this is magnificent. These are a bunch of bobbins. My machine came with 2, but as I get more into sewing, I'll probably need to crank this open. Obviously, as you can tell, I haven't yet, but that's really just because I've only been using, like, I only made 1 project so far. So highly recommended that you buy a pack of these, fairly cheap off of Amazon, or you can go to your local crafting store. I'm trying to think if I missed anything. I did. Fabric scissors. Definitely need these. I also bought a rotary cutter. So this you lay down on your craft mat and just roll the fabric. I found these a little bit easier for this project, but as you will tell, cutting straight is not my strong suit, so I need to figure out new ways to use both of these in a more helpful way. And then a measuring tape for measuring. Some things I forgot. I also bought machine needles to replace mine when they break or have been used for too long. So also what I forgot was my very handy dandy seam rip. I did use this a ton during my first project and will probably use it all the time. It undoes mistakes, which we know I'm making some mistakes, so definitely buy one of those. So just as a big picture overview, I ended up making 4 curtains. Here they are in their final form. Initially, I was only going to make 2 curtains and use extra fabric from the bottom, the excess fabric, and connect it to the 2 bigger panels. That is kind of unnecessary. I think that 4 looks great. So I made 4 curtains, and 2 of the panels are most of the fabric, the thicker ones that fill it, and then there are 2 smaller panels. And for all of them, I followed the YouTube video in the description. For a while, I thought I was just gonna freelance and not use that YouTube video, but I did. So it does a double seam for the rod, a double 6-inch double hem on the bottom, and then 2 half-inch double hems on the side. So check that video out. But yeah, I ended up with 4 curtains, all using the tutorial below. This is my face when I use my sewing machine for the first time. Please enjoy. I had footage of me threading my machine, but it's absolutely atrocious, so please use the links below. Okay. So then, from what I've gathered, you're supposed to do back stitches by turning that. Oh! So you have to hold it down and it goes backwards. Don't just press it. Hold it down. Look at that. Look at that. I think maybe something was going wrong because the top string I cut off at the top and the bottom string was coming out cut off at the bottom. Hello, just as a side note from future BB, your thread should look like that with one side coming out of the top of your work and one side coming out of the bottom. That is perfectly normal. I was totally freaking out that that wasn't right because I'm only used to knitting, but that is right. So you're all good. And now it's just completely unthreaded. Alrighty, we are headed to Target to buy the curtain rod. I've started to feel a little bit discouraged in this project, honestly a little bit overwhelmed. Learning to sew, there's so many things, just even to like get the machine set up and get it all going before you can even put fabric in it and like start to make something. And hopefully the curtain rod gives me that little like boost of vision to remember that this will be fun and I can do this and that it'll be good. Yeah, I texted one of my friend's moms and she sent me this hilarious text. And it's just the truth. There's so much that you have to learn even just to set up and get it right. So yeah, we're gonna go get this last thing that I need and then we're going to iron the fabric and measure and cut, and hopefully that will encourage me. Also, it's Valentine's Day, so we might get some Valentine's Day stuff just for kicks and encouragement, you know, some chocolate. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Okay, let's go. Does anyone else when they walk into Target always immediately see that line? Target. We did it, friends. We passed a woman with her chihuahua and didn't ask to put it in the store because of social anxiety. We awkwardly talked to a Target employee, and we have the curtain rod. Dang it, we went the wrong way. You guys can enjoy this nice view of me struggling. And struggle she did. So much, in fact, that nothing happened. She struggled so much that in actuality, she had to wait until her husband came home for him to help her hang the curtains. So what we determined here is that the curtain rods will fit in there. Only took me 2.5 minutes to learn that. But I don't know how to make the spring thing work and I can't find the instructions. So we're doing great. It's a really good start. So after not being able to hang the curtains myself and therefore not being able to get any measurements, I decided to make eggplant parmesan instead because it was Valentine's Day and why not? In the next clip, I am about to tell you how I found a YouTube video that was really helpful but decided to ignore it instead because I was using bed sheets and not just normal fabric. But I eventually did change my mind and go back to the YouTube video, so please ignore the advice of past BB and listen to me, the wiser future BB. We will be going back to that YouTube video, and basically the plan she's outlining for you is completely useless, so please ignore her. All I'm saying is that what we're going to do is seam rip the top of this sheet and shove it on the curtain rod, and then take some measurements from there of how much we'll need to add on one side. If it hasn't been clear already, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm gonna go ahead and seam rip. Okay, bye. Alrighty, friends. Well, I've exercised, I've eaten, I'm showered, so I'm clean, I'm well fed. Really have no excuse to not do the curtains. I'm just afraid of a project I'm not very good at yet, which is sewing. So I'm gonna make some emotional support tea, and then I'm gonna take some measurements and take them off the curtain rod and start cutting. No more stalling. Let's go. We have our tea. We have no excuses left. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure. So it's at this point that the 3-inch seam that I'm about to take a measurement of really should have been 6, so that I could do a double hem. Although if you do 3, you will have 3 inches at the bottom. You just won't have 2 layers of material to make it thicker. So that is a personal preference, but I did change my plan, so. So I've laid it out on my couch so I can measure it and cut exactly half so we can have 2 curtains instead of one big like sheet curtain. As you can tell from the bottom, especially there, I'm not good at this yet. I'm not good at it yet. Cutting straight lines is hard. It's probably gonna look like someone who doesn't know how to sew professionally, because if you didn't know by now, I don't know how to sew professionally. But you know, we're doing what we can, and you have to start somewhere, even if it's like 2 whole inches off. It was 66 inches. I cut them into 33 inches each and just used my fabric scissors and run it straight down the middle. Hopefully that's a straighter seam than the last one. Obviously we'll need to put seams on the side and then the bottom seams, which will be an interesting challenge. So I guess what's next is to crank out the machine and pin seams on the sides for both of these. Although, wait, we do want to add fabric. So first we should calculate how much fabric we can add before I make pretty seams on that side, so I can add the fabric there on the ugly seam and then make a pretty seam at the end of that. I think that makes sense. So let's just fuddle with the fabric and see what happens. After some calculations, this piece of fabric is over 61 inches long, so I'm not even going to worry about cutting the bottom until we're at that place when I connect them.
So just to be clear, the fabric in front of me is the excess fabric from when I measured the curtains, and it will turn into 2 smaller curtain panels, and then the fabric on the couch next to me is what I measured out that I needed for the curtains, and that'll be the 2 thicker, bigger curtain panels.
It is about 53 wide, so that means I need to cut at 26, which is where I'm sitting. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this down the middle. Probably shouldn't have done 2 things at once, like trying to talk to you and do this. Like that was definitely not straight, for example. That's just how it's going to be until I'm good at sewing. Which is not yet, so let's get with it. First things first, I think, is to take the excess fabric that I just cut, maybe give it another iron, now that I'm looking at it, and make that top seam for the curtain rod. So fold it over 3 inches, pin it, and then sew that line. So I'm gonna pin both of those and then get out my sewing machine and get started. So this is about 4 inches. I have randomly placed some needles in. I think it's at this point that I'm supposed to seam press this, right? Iron the top. I feel like that couldn't hurt. So I'm gonna pin the next one and then seam press both of them and assume that that's right, even if it's wrong. Or was I supposed to seam press it before I pinned it? I don't know. I just know that based on the YouTube videos I've watched, at some point people use their iron to press seams before they sew them. So I'm going to, at some point, press these seams before I sew them. Decided to go ahead and iron the top of these seams that I just pinned because I think that's right. This is my, also because the rest of this fabric honestly could use, it's still a little bit wrinkly, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that because I think that's what I'm supposed to do. Please tell me if it's not. Well, now that I've ironed everything and also made myself a second cup of tea to stall and also sewn on some scrap fabric, it's really truly nothing left to stop me from starting. So I'm going to show you what it looks like up here, and then we're going to do our best. So this is what it looks like up here. I'm trying to match this seam with the 5/8 line and sew a straight seam down, which I have yet to successfully sew something completely straight. So there we have it, friends. The first line of stitching on an actual project that I've ever done in my whole life ever.
So this top seam I ended up undoing, but I was pretty proud of it because it was my first seam on my sewing machine. But yeah, I undid this and followed the YouTube video that is down below.
Alrighty, here we are again. I've put on my Goodwill sweater to remember why I want to make sustainable clothes one day and why I'm learning how to sew. Gosh dang it. We're gonna crank open the sewing machine and I'm actually going to undo everything I did yesterday. And seam rip the top seam I put on this curtain and undo all the pinning I did on this because I started watching a video on how to sew curtains, and actually they recommend doing the side seams first and then the top and then the bottom. I'm not 100% sure why, but I am sure that it worked in the YouTube video. So we're gonna undo my work real quick and then restart. My goal is to get these 2 ones that don't have any like seam from being a bed sheet on them done. Ah! Oh no! Okay, I quit. So watching this YouTube video, I realized the other day, as in yesterday, I was right in the fact that I was wrong. And that I do need to seam press before I pen things, so we're learning. Anyways, my friend FaceTimed me, so you missed some things. I'll show you. Basically, I have pinned the side seams of 2 curtains, the 2 that don't have the top of the sheet. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew those to the best of my ability, which will be curvy, probably. It's really hard to sew a straight line. If you didn't know, it's hard. So I'm gonna do that as best as I can while watching Lord of the Rings.
What about second breakfast? Don't think he knows about second breakfast, Pip.
Amen. Somehow, which I don't know how, one of the leftover panels has that much extra on the bottom. So I must have measured wrong. But you know, we're gonna go with it. All right, we have to stop because we have to go pick up my husband from work, but look at that. That is the 1 out of 4 curtains. Just take all those down and put these up before the reveal, but I'm going to get back into it. Good morning. But let's get to sewing, you know what I mean? No time like the present, because it's this or the gym. So it's this. 2 curtains are done, and I am quite pleased with them. I think they're very cute, awkwardly sized, but the sun, as you can tell from the shot, is still coming through them, but no one can see me. So that's really the like, I don't know why I set this here, because I have to like squat. But the last 2 panels already have this seam on them, and my original plan was to just shove the curtain rod through this, but the curtains I already made based on the YouTube video have a smaller curtain rod opening and a thicker bottom. So I think I'm actually gonna seam rip both of these and make them how I made those, just so that all 4 match. I know what you're thinking. BB, these seams are beautiful, machine made, straight, and your seams are not. And to that I say, I agree. But you know, the more practice the better, and I've been knitting for a while, for a couple of years now, and one of the things that always really got me caught up is that I wouldn't care enough about small details. And it took me a few years before I was like, actually, that probably matters. So I think I'm trying to start sewing with some intentionality at the beginning instead of a few years in. So I really do think I want all of these to look as much the same as possible. Seam ripped this one. We're gonna go ahead and do the other one, and then make the other 2 curtains based on that YouTube video, and I will show you what they look like right now. Here's what the first 2 look like. They're so beautiful. They're so pretty, okay? Who knew sheets could look so good?
Hi, I just want to take a quick pause right here to let you know that even though it doesn't look like it, this is the next day. I know that I'm wearing the same shirt and I'm in the exact same place, but I promise it's the next day. I had no footage of the day before, but I did seam rip and iron the 2 bigger panels.
So I've decided not to work on the current project that I have, or do my laundry, both things I should do, or the dishes, or make breakfast, and instead drive to Goodwill. Get in, losers, we're going shopping. I just want you guys to know that Goodwill doesn't open till 10, and it's 9:30, so this is what we get for doing things impulsively. Alright, we have consolation boba. It's 10:15. I ran an errand. We can now enter Goodwill on a whim. Let's go. We're back after mostly useless errands and a chaotic Goodwill experience. We're back. I'll show you what we got from Goodwill, even though it's irrelevant to the curtains. I'm gonna show you anyways. What you're thinking? No. I know. I'm not gonna start making new curtains.
Yeah, here's a picture of my dining room table as soon as I finish this, making new curtains out of those.
But I don't know, just something about the yellow, which I also hear you, is basically, I know, we're sensing a theme. Hey, what's wrong with the theme? So I'm gonna go do my laundry and do a few other things, and then eventually I will sit down and try to conquer these curtains. So I'll see you in a few hours. You'll see me in a few seconds. Ta-da! Here are the curtains. They are far from perfect. There's plenty of problems. The main thing I would like to point out is that on this curtain, when I seam ripped the top of the bedsheet, I've decided to put it on the bottom, and it didn't really completely iron out, so I would highly recommend putting that on the top. But I love them. Thank you so much for watching. I'm really excited to get into sewing and really excited to have a place to keep myself motivated to keep making things. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time we're feeling crafty.